Hey, truth seekers, welcome back. Zach here. It's March 19th, 2017. I had a revelation by the numbers myself today while working on my book that will soon release. I was going back over my work on the assassination of US presidents, and I realized I hadn't done any work on the assassination since learning about reverse gematria, this very relevant format I've overlooked for the 3+ years I've been doing and presenting this research. So, anyway, today's March 19th. 19/3, as they write it in most parts of the world. This number 193, a number we talk about often in regards to death and killing. And lo and behold, I find out today on March 19th, going over my book, dressing it up, making it even better than it already is, I discovered that the name John F. Kennedy in reverse ordinal gematria sums to 193. And just real quick so you can appreciate this, we've talked about the significance of 59 and 131 before. We're now looking at reverse gematria, which is the exact same thing. In case you're new here, let's just establish what we're looking at. We'll start with ordinal. Gematria is the practice of coding numbers into words. Ordinal gematria is using the alphabetic order. A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, up to Z is 26. Transform each letter to its corresponding number in the alphabet, add the word. Reduction is using the alphabetic order, but instead of adding each letter for its place in the alphabet, the difference is this. J is the 10th letter. So in ordinal, J is worth 10. But in reduction, J is worth 1 because you take the numerology of 10. 1 plus 0 becomes 1. O's the 15th letter. In ordinal, O is 15. In reduction, 15 is 1 plus 5 equals 6. So in reduced, you make each letter a single digit. Then you add the word. John F. Kennedy is 59. Reversed reduced is doing the same thing, but you do the alphabet in reverse. Z is 1 up to A is 26. And same thing with reverse ordinal. Just in case this seems possibly coincidental to you, let me tell you something real quick. George Washington, the first recognized president, 187, Washington, D.C., named after George Washington, 187 and in reverse. This past year, Donald Trump had his GOP convention on July 18th, 18/7, which was exactly 187 days before Inauguration Day in Washington, D.C. Not only that, but the last Republican president was George W. Bush, who was born July 6th, the 187th day of the year. So anyhow, we've been doing a lot of work discovering just how relevant this reverse gematria is. Now we find out John F. Kennedy sums to 193, which is the 44th prime number. And as we've been talking about for years, 44 is connected to killing. And JFK was the 35th president, but he was also the 44th term president. So let's go down to JFK, number 35, first Catholic. His presidential term was 44, and Lyndon Johnson finished out the 44th term because of his assassination, you see. Come to the present, we have Donald Trump, who's the 45th president, serving the 58th term. And remember, Inauguration Day was on a date with a 58 numerology. They hired a 58-year-old to do the ceremonies. Donald Trump began his campaign at his 58-story Trump Tower in New York. 58, number of Freemasonry, secret society, and so much more. The first president to die in office was William Henry Harrison, who died 1 month into his term on 4/4. The first president to be assassinated was Abraham, which is a name with 44 gematria, just like the word kill. 44. So anyway, John F. Kennedy equals 193, the 44th prime number. He was the 44th term president. This number connected to his death as well as his brother's in 1968 on June 6th, Robert Kennedy. Kill equals 44. If you write out 44 as a word, it sums to 144. Just like if you write out Sagittarius. And JFK died on the first day of Sagittarius, November 22nd, 1963. His brother would die at 1:44 in the morning, June 6th. Remember, Robert Kennedy equals 66, so does Sirhan. Robert's 33, Kennedy's 33, Sirhan's 33. Dead on 6/6 at 1:44 in the morning. JFK's death was foreshadowed December 25th, Christmas Day, 1961, on the Andy Griffith Show, an episode about a bootlegging family getting busted at 411 Elm Street. JFK would be assassinated from 411 Elm Street. Just real quick, the Kennedys were a bootlegging family. Kennedy has Gematria of 33. You know, with regards to this revelation about Kennedy, today's the 78th day of the year, March 19th. Interesting how things work out. The entire time I've been doing this study, so often my big discoveries have come in correspondence with the date. Like I showed last week, I had this huge revelation about 235, a number I've been looking at for more than a year. And it was exactly 235 days after my 33rd birthday, and I did not plan it that way at all. But anyway, Kennedy 33. Think about JFK dead on 11/22. 11 plus 22, 33, in the middle of Dealey Plaza, named after a 33rd degree Freemason. The episode was about a bootlegging family, which has to do with alcohol and prohibition, that ended in 33. Alcohol has Gematria of 33. Prohibition ended in 33 on a date with 33 numerology. Check out my video. Alcohol comes from sugar. Sugar 33. Whole lot more to this, but the Kennedys, a bootlegging family, 33, number of Masonry. JFK's assassination was foreshadowed, on the Andy Griffith Show on Christmas Day, 1961. JFK would end up getting killed at Dealey Plaza, which has a Gematria of 108, just like the Andy Griffith Show. So does the word geometry, and Gematria is geometry within the language. So Christmas Day, bootlegging family busted at 411 Elm Street. JFK shot from 411 Elm Street. We'll talk more about 411. I just want to go back to how John F. Kennedy also sums to 49. Did you catch that in reverse? John F. Kennedy, 49. He was killed in Dallas. Dallas has the Gematria 49, just like Washington, you know. His body was flown back to Washington right away. The evidence was flown away from the crime scene immediately, you know, before a proper investigation could be done, much like September 11th. If you caught that, Dallas also had the Gematria of 113. For those of you who follow my channel, very important number to Scottish Rite Freemasonry, which is focused on 33. Dishonest equals 113. Mainstream 113. Bullshit even has a Gematria of 113. So does fiction. We see this number coded around propaganda so often, 113. Interesting that it's coded into Dallas. With regards to JFK being shot from 411 Elm Street, the word Freemason has a Gematria of 411. So does Christmas. So does Assassin. The episode was on Christmas Day, 1961. A span of 144 days from the day Obama was born, August 4th, 1961. Again, when you write out 44, it sums to 144. Obama became the 44th president, running on hope. Hope equals 44 with the alphabetic order. Check this out. The day JFK died, November 22nd, 1963. Date with 115 numerology, 115. Assassin 115. Killing 115. Killing in reverse ordinal and Jewish is 115. Masonic 115. Freemasons 115. Freemasonry seems to worship Lucifer, a word that shares the Gematria of Masonic. Lucifer 115. Lucifer also happens to share Gematria with Kennedy. Very interesting. Lucifer, we learn, also has Gematria connected to Masonic and the Synagogue of Satan. In case you're new here, we don't want to go too much off the path. I just want to focus mostly with where we began. The 193, the significance of 44, people dying all throughout history by the number 44. JFK was the first Catholic president, the only Catholic president to date. Catholic has Gematria of 35. JFK gave his speech at the Berlin Wall. Just got to show you that Berlin's 33. 149 days before his assassination. And they say that was one of the most bizarre moments of his presidency, a remembered moment, his speech at the Berlin Wall, June 26, 1963. He would die 149 days later. 149 days later, which is the 35th prime number. These numbers, again and again, they repeat throughout history. And the Catholics, what they are, is a Masonic branch of Christianity. Very powerful branch. Sorry, lost my focus. I had to answer a phone call there for a second. What I was trying to say is the Catholic Church, very powerful, has the Jesuit order within it, the Masonic secret society, part of the New World Order, what people commonly call the Illuminati. We'll touch more on that, but real quick, I just want to show you what's so strange about this revelation coming today, March 19th, about John F. Kennedy's assassination. We were saying how the name Lucifer has this parallel to Kennedy. Lucifer also has the 223 Gematria, very important to Masonic and the Synagogue of Satan. The false Jews said to rule within the end times, who once upon a time created the Catholic Church. Freemasonry, based in Jewish history. Anyway, today's March 19th, and in the U.S., we write that date 3/19. Look at the Gematria of Lucifer in Satanic Gematria. 319. Just last week, I was talking about Prince dying 319 days after his 57th birthday. He died on the 44th parallel, 33 years after recording the song I Would Die For You, number 4, letter U. 319 connects to 57, the age he died at, 319 days after his 57th birthday. This is the way this research has always been for me. Discovering things, asking questions, documenting the pattern, and then slowly piecing it together. And if you watch from the start of my channel up to the present, that's what you'll witness. One of the first videos I put out was on the assassination of JFK and his brother Bobby Kennedy and other deaths in their family. So many people in their family have died by the number 33. 33, number of sacrifice from the Bible. So anyway, real quick about the Jesuits. Right now we have a Jesuit president, Donald Trump. We have the first publicly Jesuit pope, Pope Francis. These men are said to have a public beef, but it's all part of a public puppet show. Notice Society of Jesus 187, Rockefeller 187, George Washington, Washington, D.C. Again, Trump had his convention 18/7, 187 days before Inauguration Day. Last Republican president born on the 187th day of the year. This number 187 in Gematria, anytime you write out a word that has a, a word with an ordinal Gematria of 187 will have a Sumerian Gematria of 1122. And any word with a reverse ordinal Gematria of 187 will have a reverse Sumerian of 1122. Sumerian Gematria is 6 times the alphabetic order. So A is 6, B is 12, C is 18, D is 24. You count by 6. JFK killed on 1122. We see how 187, which has this parallel with 1122, is related to Washington, D.C. We also know it's connected to killing. 187, the homicide code in states such as California. In this Satanic Gematria cipher, which is so interesting, just real quick, if you write out Satanic Gematria, it sums to 666. And the way this cipher works is A is 36, Z is 61. So you start with 36 and count up to 61 instead of 1 through 26. If you count every number 1 through 36 and add them together, they sum to 666. Number of the beast from the 66th book of the Bible. Satanic Gematria equals 666. Anyway, in this format, time equals 187. And think about what the surest killer is in this world. Time. Time is what eventually will kill everyone. Time, 187. Interesting that Trump had his GOP convention in Ohio. You might have noticed that Time and Ohio are both 47 and 187. 47, incredibly important to Freemasonry. Their compass and their symbol, the compass with the G and the square, the compass is set at 47 degrees. Again, everything in D.C. is 47. The streets that point at the White House are even set at 47 degrees. Just like the compass and square, President 47, White House 47, government 47, authority 47. The Freemasons have the 47th problem of Euclid, which is about how to establish foundation for a structure. Foundation 47. So anyway, just wanted to show you some overlap with those numbers. In terms of the 144 being connected to the assassin of JFK and RFK, Catholics and likely Jesuits as well. Jesuit order also has that gematria of 144. Both men dead by that number. Catholic has gematria of 71. There's only two numbers when written out that some do 144. One is 44. The other is 71. JFK, first Catholic president only to date. Trump loosely related because he's a Jesuit. Remember, it was the Catholic Church that converted the day of worship to Sunday. Just notice that Jesuits, Sunday, Savior, all gematria of 84. The numbers that divide into 44, if you add them together, sum to 84. There's just so much truth seeker. Donald Trump began his Jesuit training 52 years before becoming president. 52 also a number huge in Washington, D.C. Pope Francis met with the President of the United States on September 23rd, 2015, 23/9, 239, the 52nd prime. That's the 266th day of the year. Pope Francis is the 266th Pope. Think about these two meeting, the President and the Pope, both gematria 52, on the date September 23rd. Pope Francis, first Jesuit Pope, Jesuit birthday. If you've never seen the gangster Pope Francis before he was the Pope, here he is doing the Masonic pose, the hidden hands. Jesuits, Masonic order within the Catholic Church. In the history of the Catholic Church, there's also the 33-day Pope. He died the day after the Jesuit order's birthday, which is September 27th. His last day alive was the Jesuit order's birthday. Dead on his 33rd day, a date with 44 numerology. Just where we began. Catholics, Kennedys, his assassination in Dealey Plaza. I'll link all this information below. I'll also link this video. I put this out October 20th, 2015. This is my older work on the assassination of JFK by the numbers. There's so much that's mind-blowing here. Oswald, what we talked about then, the gematria of 74, the most relevant thing, very important number to Freemasonry and killing. Oswald with that 74 coding plus a whole lot more, which I talk about in this older video. I'll link it below. It's a 3-part video because my channel was in bad standing. I could only make 15-minute videos then. If you've ever seen the channel Polarization Nation, he says I make 15-minute videos to just clog up the channel feed, which isn't true. It's just because I could only upload 15-minute videos for a year's time. But those days are over for now. So here's the last thing I want to say. The last 2 Sundays, weekends, I've put out work on Jesus Christ being an allegory for the sun in the sky, and I've pissed off a lot of people who followed me for years. And, a lot of people know my spiritual stance and what I think about Christianity and religion. And a lot of people who disagree with me follow me, but it seems that everybody has a breaking point, and perhaps for some of these people, seeing me put out these latest videos, it just pushed them over the edge. And for anyone who listens to my radio show, have a radio show every Wednesday night, Truth Frequency Radio, 6 to 9 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. to midnight Eastern. For the entire time that show's existed, there's a man who calls in almost every week. Sometimes his son calls in as well. Two very brilliant people dedicated to studying my work, and they use it themselves. The father, he calls in almost every episode, and 2 weeks ago he called in. And just for anyone who doesn't listen, the father, he agrees with me on a lot of things, but there's a lot of things where we have different points of view. He's 60 years old. He's almost twice my age. He has a lot more world experience, so I always enjoy listening to where he disagrees because, I know the older you get, the wiser you become. You can't replace experience. So I always listen to my elders. But that said, when I was a child, I realized just because someone's older than you doesn't mean they're smarter than you or know better than you or know more than you. Some people squander their time. Some people never learn. But I always give my elders the benefit of the doubt. Anyway, 2 weeks ago he called in, and I had to question him on two things that we disagree on. He routinely brings up the assassination of JFK. He was a child when JFK was assassinated. He'll routinely say that he knows that JFK was killed that day because he was speaking truth to power, and that's why he was murdered. And he knows that I say I'm not sure if JFK was killed, but what I do show is how JFK was murdered by the numbers, and his murder was very much planned for that date very long in advance. And the question becomes, was he murdered for speaking truth to power? Was it a setup? Did they put a man in there who they knew had the balls to speak truth to power with the planned killing of him for an agenda? Because what came out of the killing of JFK and Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X and Bobby Kennedy and everything else that went on in that period of time, what came out of that was a message to the people that there will be consequences for fighting authority, for speaking out. That was what people took away, overwhelmingly. Fear rules the day. Fear can rule the mind, and fear is what came out of those stories. So he maintains that JFK was really murdered on that date. He knows it in his heart, and it was because he was speaking truth to power. It's possible, but what I said to him is, at the same time, how do you know he wasn't really murdered that day? And we haven't all been lied to like we've been lied to about so many other things. And the purpose of the lie was to instill the same message. I said, ultimately, at the end of the day, I guess it would matter if he really was murdered because, that's murder. That's another person murdered. But we know that the powers that shouldn't be murder. So that's nothing new. They start wars. War is a justified way of murdering people needlessly. The people at the top, the banker tyrants, they're murderers. So anyway, JFK murdered, faked his death, staged news story. For anyone who's saying, well, what about the Zapruder film? Understand the Zapruder film was made by a 33rd degree Freemason, and nobody could even make out what was in that film until the 90s. That was the first time the clear version came out. So, that's over 30 years later. And we live in an age of special effects and acting and film creation. The Zapruder film could be an entire reenactment for all we know. And that's just the thing. We live in this world where we've been lied to. We don't know what to trust. So anyway, the point was 2 weeks ago, I asked him two things. I said, how can you be so certain that JFK was murdered? And two, he always calls in and reminds that Jesus Christ is real and Jesus Christ is the love of the world and he's a believer in Jesus Christ. And so I asked him, I said, okay, there's two things that I'm not as certain about as you are. How do you know that JFK was really killed? And how do you know for certain that Jesus Christ is real? And he got really angry. And I was surprised by how mad he got. But me questioning him that way really pissed him off. And he's always well-spoken and calm, and he knows you can't cuss on the radio program. Man, he went right to F-bombs. He was so pissed that I questioned how he really knew. And honestly, I didn't expect it because I thought he would say how he really knew. What I understand, I'm not a naive person. I know that people don't like to be questioned. People do not like to be questioned in their beliefs. They just like people to respect their beliefs and let their beliefs be. But at the same time, so many people who are that way, they'll chastise somebody or condemn somebody over their differing beliefs. That's the hypocrisy in us. And I'm not saying I'm not guilty of that, but I've always maintained the stance. Everything I teach, everything I'm teaching is knowledge I'm uncovering so that I can know more and understand about this world, because I don't claim to know anything. There's things I think. I have some beliefs, but I try to stay more to thinking than believing. Remember, believe, that special word with the lie right in the middle. But anyway, I maintain that I don't know for certain that there is a God, but I believe there's a God because of the evidence I see. I can't know for certain because I've never seen God with my own eyes, but I believe I have experienced God in a number of ways. I think God is that force that brings people together sometimes, that sheds light on things, that will drop a clue or a reminder about something we should do in this world. God's there if you're paying attention. And I've always said I thought it was God that brought me to this research, and I've said it several times that I've been doing this work. I feel that a lot of the discoveries I make are because God guided me there. It's like this morning I woke up, and, even before I started to work on the chapter on the presidents, I had these other things on my mind. I have Dave Cyberling on my mind, this man who calls in, and how he's been angry with me. He didn't call in this past week. He normally calls in, because I realize there's other Dave Cyberlings out there in the world. There's people who watch my work who are like Dave Cyberling, but I've never heard their voice. So anyway, for all the Daves out there, what I just want to say is, we have to stop getting so angry with each other over our differences and learn to understand one another. And I just want to remind people that, I'm young. I don't know everything. But I am smart and I'm ahead of my time, and I've always seen things for what they are, and I've always been good at finding answers to questions. Anyway, something that has never revealed itself to me in terms of God is Jesus Christ. I have never seen evidence that Jesus Christ is real. That said, a lot of people have told me that they have evidence Jesus Christ is real. People who write me almost every day, people who I communicate with that I learned through this work, even my own girlfriend. My own girlfriend, she grew up in Burma. She lived in Kachin State in Burma, which is like a Christian territory for the most part. It was colonized by Christians a century ago, European Christians. They came there. They created a new alphabet for these people based on their own language in English. They taught them Christianity. So my girlfriend from Burma, from a Christian background, for her to get to the United States, she had to do some things. She had to smuggle herself into another country. Then she had to get past the immigration process over there, which was rare to even get a chance to go to the United States. So I guess it's the emigration process. But she maintains that every time she was in severe trouble, like there was, when she was smuggling herself into another country, a lot of people she was with got busted and arrested. My girlfriend, she's tiny, she's 5 foot nothing. She hid herself in a little tiny container, and she said she was just praying to Jesus Christ in there, and they didn't find her in the container, but they found almost everyone else. All those people had to go to jail. My girlfriend, she could have ended up in a jail cell with everybody else. But she believes it was Jesus Christ who protected her. And she always tells me these stories about all these miracles and, Jesus Christ. I've explained before that my girlfriend's a Christian. However, she even questions her own beliefs. She knows that sometimes Jesus doesn't answer your prayers, but she does ultimately think it was her belief in Jesus Christ that got her to America. And what's so funny is my girlfriend and I, when we met, we didn't know that we were going to be meeting anyone romantically that day, but we did meet on the 4th of July. And, 7/4, that important number to Freemasonry, Jesus, so many things. Cross 74, Messiah 74, Gospel 74. And honestly, it was meeting that girl. When I first met her, she really liked me, but she wanted me to read the Bible again. I told her that I was raised a Lutheran, and she went out and bought me a Bible, put it in front of me. She's just like, just read the Bible a little bit for me. And, it was doing that honestly made me unlock the Gematria, something which was all part of a bigger recipe, but she was like the final ingredient in me having the Gematria revelation. So anyway, I'm just trying to say, to me, the whole Jesus Christ thing and the sun and allegory, to me that makes so much sense. But I'm listening to all the people that are saying Jesus Christ, this name, this belief, it has this power that can protect you. Some of you might know the channel Bartley Gerba. I'll link his channel below. Bartley Gerba, not a Christian, but he believes in Jesus Christ. He's always telling me the same thing. Zach, if you're ever in trouble, just pray to Jesus Christ. He'll protect you even if you don't believe in him. That's what Bartley Gerba always says. And, with regards to Jesus Christ, let's not forget that it has the Gematria of 74 either. But anyway, Dave Cyberling, all the people out there, you guys, I'm just trying to understand this world. I'm just trying to share knowledge. Knowledge is power. Just because I might say things you don't agree with, you just need to learn to agree to disagree and take away what has value to you. I know that every video I put out is full of valuable information. But again, I don't have all the answers. You listen to people call into my radio show, people who believe in Jesus, people who believe in God but don't believe in Jesus, people who are atheists. We just need to all learn to work together and share knowledge together, and I imagine if we did that, we would all start to come to similar conclusions, about what this world is and what's really going on. I have no doubt that there is power to this number 74. Is it all Jesus Christ? Or is it something, even older than that? Something even before Jesus Christ? Perhaps Jesus Christ did walk the earth and he got the power of this number, I just try to keep an open mind about things and use evidence to say or to dictate what seems most reasonable. And real quick, one last point. There's these parallels between Jesus and the sun. This is what I've been covering the last 2 weekends, putting out all this knowledge, these videos, blog posts. Christians get so offended when they're told that worshiping Jesus is worshiping the sun. The Muslims get offended when I say them praying, depending on where the sun in the sky seems like sun worship to me. They get offended. There's just all this offense to worshiping the sun. And, worshiping the sun goes back to the pagans. And so many of the Christian customs are paganism. And of course, Christians are worshiping on Sunday. Again, we started with the 33, Sunday 33, Bible 33, God's Son 33, Jehovah 33, Sun 33, Christians on Sunday. Who's to say that the sun doesn't have all sorts of spirituality, When I was a child and I was thinking about religion and is this real, what I'm learning, what I'm being told to believe, to fear or else, when I was a child, I came up with the question at a young age. I just thought, the thing that really makes life possible, that makes this life, any of this, this reality, the thing that makes this is clearly the sun in the sky. Without the sun, there's no life. So as a child, I started to think, why don't people just worship the sun? Why can't everyone just agree to worship the sun and this miracle that is life and go, well, there's clearly a creator. I mean, how else do you explain us as human beings? Just think about how I don't have to explain it. You just know what a miracle we are if you really think about it. This heart beating for as long as it beats, just the way we regenerate, just everything. How can this be without a creator, something more divine, greater than us? So I've always maintained my belief in God. There has to be something greater. Why as a people can't we just agree to worship the world for its beauty and its possibility and even its mystery. And what's so wrong with saying, I worship the sun? And I'm not saying I worship the sun. I don't really worship anything. But why is that so offensive? How do you know the sun's not flowing with spiritual energy? And perhaps it's also flowing with demonic energy. Because it almost seems that that's what this world is for the Creator. The Creator created us a way, almost like this world's a test. Like we have choices. You can be good or bad. Speaking of bad, Truth Seeker, I just noticed something so interesting about bad. I noticed it had this 74 coding. And I'm not trying to say Jesus is bad. Remember, Lucifer has this gematria of 74 as well, just like Jesus. And Lucifer is not supposed to be all bad either. Lucifer's fallen. It's like the ego got the better of Lucifer. But there's just duality with everything in this world, and it seems that's the way we're created. I don't know if there's an afterlife, reincarnation, but I do think there's got to be some sort of spiritual karma or justice. Or, another way to look at it, and the way I look at it is this way. The world is all energy. So, and speaking of energy, energy is one of those special 74 words. Everything you do, it creates good or bad. And the more positive you do, the more positive change you're going to see in the world. The more bad, the more you contribute to what's already become a negative place to live in. Heaven and hell. Those are realities that we can create here on earth. Let's see. I had this slide up earlier while I was talking, just in case you missed my work on Chuck Berry yesterday in regards to Jesus Christ. Earlier in the day, I did my post on March 18th and its connections to 77. March 18th, the 77th day of the year. The return of Christ is mentioned 318 times in the New Testament. Chuck Berry, the father of rock and roll, died 151 days after his birthday yesterday. On this date connected to Jesus Christ, CNN's original article had the 151. The point I'm trying to make is there's something very real going on here. Murder by numbers, history by the numbers, seemingly all tributes to time, connections to the spiritualities of the world as we know them. The only way we're going to fully unlock this is by working together. And, the only way that's ever going to happen is if we learn to put our differences aside. And I've always tried to model that message. And sometimes, I've been hypocritical, but understand I've gotten hypocritical because of how many people have attacked me just for being honest about my beliefs. And for a long time, I just took on the attacks and I maintained total respect, but eventually I had to speak things that are true about this world. So many Christians, they hate. What they're full of is hate for people who don't believe the same as them. And, that's just clearly not the way. And Dave Cyberling, who I'm reaching out to, I know what filled him up 2 weeks ago on the radio show. He got all full of hate because I really wanted him to hear why he says he knows JFK was assassinated and he knows Jesus Christ is real. And maybe he really does know, and maybe that's why he's so passionate. But if he knows, he has to figure out how to prove it, So anyway, Truth Seeker, this video is longer than I meant for it to be. I'm writing the book. The book, it's still priority one, but I want to share this knowledge as it comes along. I think these are big finds. And I also just like talking about things out loud because then often when I go to write, it's just easier to put the words on the paper. So I'm trying to find the balance right now, with writing and still getting out the information where it's of value. Thought this was a big find. Dave Cyberling, I hope you see this video. Everybody like Dave Cyberling. I hope you check this out. You know, maybe one day you'll see me saying that I'm a believer in Jesus Christ or something else, something that I would not say that I believe in now. But I do believe in God, and just to clarify my spiritual belief, I try to maintain living by the golden rule. I always treat people with respect until I get disrespected enough. Then I go to the old Jewish way. Sometimes I can be an eye for an eye, which I know isn't right. That's funny. That's funny that eye for an eye has that kind of gematria. Truth seeker. I don't know what to think about that. That's the Jewish way, right? Zionist state of Israel established in the year 47. The 47th problem of Euclid. Wait, I just got to lose the. 47th problem of Euclid. That's what the Freemasons go by. The Zionist nation of Israel established on the 333rd day of 47. You know what else? I remember that Trav W. just found something out about 47 and 333. I got to share this with you before we go. November 29th, the 333rd day of the year, a 33-member vote by the United Nations created Israel. Freemasonry, the 47th problem of Euclid, you know, their compass and square. Hold on, I got to show this to you, Truth Seeker, about 47 and 333. This is mind-blowing. Shoot, hold on. Hold on, Truth Seeker. Sometimes the search doesn't work as well as it should. I just uploaded this to the blog not long ago. Oh no. Truth Seeker. Here we go. So this is Trav W. He wanted to look up some more on 47333. This guy does the most brilliant research whenever I put out information. He writes, if you look up the meaning of the compasses in the Masonic logo on a Masonic education website, they say it means word for word, circumscribe our desires and keep our passions within due bounds. This is the meaning of the compass, which is set at 47 degrees, which relates to the 47th problem of Euclid. That motto has gematria of 333. Let me just type it out to make sure. Circumscribe our desires and keep our passions within due bounds. Look at that, Truth Seeker. 666 333. Amazing. 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 So anyway, Truth Seeker, just dropping some more knowledge. Knowledge on March 19th by the numbers, and I really didn't mean it that way, but again, this has been going on since the beginning of this research, making these discoveries seemingly as gifts from God. And if you've listened to Derek on my radio show, who built us the Gematrinator website, which is linked below, that's this website right here. He found my work, built us this awesome tool that's helped take us out of the Stone Ages in terms of this research. He's saying the same thing. He keeps doing a lot of research on a number, and then all of a sudden he looks at his cell phone or he talks to somebody for the amount of time he was just doing the research, and he's going like, what is going on in this world? And, other people have come along before Derek. Brother Berg, who still has the Extra Capsa blog, which you can find linked at the top of my blog on the right side, Extra Capsa. Brother Berg made these discoveries from my work, and ever since then, he's noticed how they show up in his life. Dan Barron, another channel linked at the top of my blog, found my work years ago, been doing the same thing, and now he sees how all of this starts meshing up with his own life. So there's just something greater that's going on here. And, again, in the time I've been doing this work, a lot of people have written and said, Zach, your work has really increased my spirituality, even though we don't see eye to eye. People will say they're Islamic, Christian, all sorts of things. So this knowledge, it has power for all people, no matter what they believe, if they take the time to learn it and apply it. Something very real going on here. All right, Truth Seeker. Until next time.